I tried to go live, got it all sorted, hit record on my recording software, and it told me that I didn't have enough space on my Mac to record. So I had to cancel the fucking live stream and then free up some space. But we're here. That's by the by. We're fucking here. We're going to get this live stream going. Right, let's give it a few minutes. So we got 9 of you on Instagram now. We got 4 on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. So guys on Instagram, all of you guys actually leave me an emoji or a comment. Let me know that you can hear me and you can see me okay. If you're watching this on the replay, please leave me a hashtag replay. Guys on YouTube, give me a thumbs up. Guys on Facebook, like it, share it. Same with you guys on Instagram, please. And we will get going in about 30 seconds. Cool. Tell you, don't go live and don't do a podcast for 2 weeks. Go to do it, and apparently all my fucking Mac storage space is full. So I have to delete a load of shit. Should have tested that. Schoolboy error in it. Should have tested it. Right, cool. Shall we hit record? Hopefully this time it'll fucking go, and we will get going. Right, perfect. We're rolling. 3, 2, 1. Yes, gang. Welcome to another episode of the Type 1 Movement podcast. And you know what? I'm just saying to the guys on the live then, like, I've not been live for 2 weeks. I've not recorded a podcast episode for 2 weeks. And I feel like I've fucking lost the knowledge on how to do it. Yeah. Because basically what I was doing then, I actually set up the live stream before this, hit record on my recording software that I use. And it told me that my Mac was full and I had to delete some stuff. So I had to cancel all the live stream, go in, delete loads of shit. Oh, Lisa Ray, that's me whinging it. Lisa Ray. Anyway, gang, welcome. And in this episode, I'm going to be speaking about common things that are going to stop you from running a basal test. Now, I see this time and time again with my clients. If you're my client watching this, you'll probably be able to agree with this. And it can be super frustrating when we're trying to run a basal test. Everything seems right. And at the last minute, we need to cancel the test. But this is what I'm going to get into and give you some ways to overcome this stuff. Before we get into it, please leave me a rating and a review on the podcast app and Spotify. It really does help me reach more type 1 diabetics. And also give it a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories and tag me at type1_Tom, just so I can reach out and say thank you very much. So, right. A little bit of a life update before we get into this. So I've not been live for 2 weeks. Normally I try and go live once or twice a week. And it's been a fucking crazy couple of weeks. Firstly, I decided I wanted to do my motorbike test. So I actually did my CBT. It's Friday the time I'm recording this, last Friday. And I did my theory last Tuesday and passed. So that was taking up, not a fair amount of time, but that was taking up a bit of time. And then I'm going to Ibiza next Wednesday to Saturday. So the idea of doing my motorbike test was to do direct access, which is basically, because of the age that I am, like 35, cracking on now, I can go all the way through and then ride whatever I want. I won't be riding whatever I want because I don't want to fucking die, basically, on a bike. So I've got a little 125 and I'm working my way up. But this direct access, you basically have some lessons, like a crash course sort of thing. Hopefully not crashing, but like a crash course. When you know when you do your driving test, you do a crash course, you get all the way through. It's like the bike equivalent of that. So I would have done that, but I'm going to Ibiza next week. So I'm going to have to come back from there, find my head again, which will probably take about a week, and then go and do my full test. So that's been like taking a bit of time as well. Another thing is, you guys probably know if you got me on socials, little Steve-O, my dog, Steve, he went to doggy boot camp. And I just got him back today. So he was there for 2 weeks being trained. And they've done a fucking amazing job. And basically, I'm going to talk you guys through the story of when I went and picked him up before. Because he's never been away from me for that long. Like, he's 9 months old. And I was like, fuck, like, what if he doesn't even recognize me? Like, what if he's like, who the fuck are you? So basically, when I get there to pick him up, the trainer, absolutely amazing, like top man, this trainer, top lad. And he said, right, I'm going to go and grab Steve. I'm just going to ask you to stand against the wall and don't fuss him when he comes out. Stand there quietly. I'm going to walk up and down with him a few times, and then I'm going to tell him to sit, and then I'm going to tell him to break, and then you can give him all the fuss that you want. So Steve comes out with a trainer, and he didn't even look at me when he walked past me the first time. He didn't look at me. His ears were back, didn't look at me, just kept looking at the trainer, like, which is a great thing. But I was like, no, I've lost my fucking dog. Like, what the fuck? So anyway... On his way back, like his lap past me when I stood against the wall, Steve looks at me and his ears go from being back to, they start to raise up a little bit as if to say, I fucking know him. I recognize him. And then the trainer just tugged on the legs, got a bit of a slip lead on, saying, leave it. And he dropped back in line with the trainer then, which was great because I wanted him to stop pulling. This was awesome to see. He walks up and down a few more times. He comes back. Steve looks at me. His ears go up like, I fucking know you. That's me dad. And then the trainer yanked his like slip lead a little bit, said, leave it. And he dropped back in line. And then he told him to sit, told him he could break. And I've never seen Steve like this. He come running over to me, licking me, jumping up at me. Like, so it was great that he didn't do that as soon as he come out. He was waiting for commands from the trainer. When he looked at me and the trainer said, no, like, follow me, heel, he dropped back in line. And that was awesome to see because that's basically what I wanted from him. So I've got him back now. And he's actually going back in there next Tuesday because I wanted him to go back in there when I go to Ibiza just so they can give him a bit of a top up. But over this weekend, I'm going to be, practicing all the things that the trainers have taught him and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been pretty fucking hectic. Been super busy with work and new clients. Big up to all my clients, all my team putting the fucking work in. Like, I'm so proud of every single one of you. And if you're listening to this, or even if you're not, I'm putting it out there. A fucking big shout out to all my clients. So, right. Now we got a bit of a fucking Life of Tom update. Let's get into this. So, common things that are going to stop you from basal testing. This can be really frustrating, and I always state this, like, basal testing is the foundation to our diabetes management. Yes, we've got mindset and that sort of stuff, but I'm starting with basal testing here, yeah? Because if this isn't right, your levels are going to be all over the fucking place. And this is the sort of things that I'm going to tell you don't get told to you by DSNs or endos as well. Yeah. And it can be super frustrating if you plan on running a basal test, and my clients are probably laughing or nodding if they're watching or listening to this. And I know because I've done it. And then something throws a spanner in the works and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. And you have to start again. So I want to make you aware of a few things that are going to stop you from basal testing. Not forever, but let's get into them. So the first thing is going high or going low within 4 hours of wanting to start the basal test. Look, if you drop low within 4 hours of wanting to start a basal test, when we drop low, the chances of us going low again are much bigger. It increases it. I don't know by how much, but it increases it. So if you're like waiting, you get to an hour before you want to start your test, you drop low, you have to treat the low, you're going to have to cancel the test. There's no point in just treating the low, coming back into range, and then doing the test. You must cancel the test. This was told actually to me by my endo and DSN at the time. So this is something when I switched over to a pump, but should have said at the start, these are applicable, pens and pump, doesn't matter, yeah? So if you go low or high within 4 hours of wanting to start your test, you're going to need to cancel the test. That's with a low. If you go high and you're going out of range and you're really high, there's no point in trying to push through and continue on the test because it's very stressful on your body. What I personally do and tell my clients to do, give yourself a correction, get yourself back in range, cancel the test, move it over to another time. So that's the first thing, going high or low within 4 hours of starting the test. The next thing, and this is kind of linked to that, is if you eat a high fat or a high protein meal for your last meal before you want to start a test, this is going to fuck your test up. And I'll explain why. Let's say we want to test overnight, yeah? And let's say we want to test our overnight levels, and then our last meal, we have something that's really high in fat. Now, as a general rule of thumb, what I do and get all my clients to do is 5 grams of fat. No more than 5 grams of fat. We need to keep within those sort of limits. Because, and the same on protein with this, we like to stay probably around 20 grams of protein, but these vary from people to people, person to person. Some people can withstand more fat and more protein before they get that extended spike. Yeah. So the main thing is on this, if you eat a high fat or a high protein meal and you plan on doing a basal test, chances are you're going to get an extended spike from the meal, which isn't going to give you a clear understanding of what's going on with your basal or your background insulin. Yeah. So a quick side note I mentioned there to that, fat we like to keep around 5 grams. Protein varies from person to person. I'd always say 15 to 20 grams. Carbs, I personally like to go 30 to 50, but that's totally your choice. Yeah. So that's another thing that are going to stop you from running a basal test. So we've got going high or low within 4 hours of wanting to start the test. And then we've got, if you eat a high fat or a high protein meal, that's going to fuck your basal testing up. Do not do that. because it's either going to cause you to go high or it's going to cause you to go low. Or if you do a split or extended, that's going to be extended over 4, 5, 6 hours. So it's going to mess your basal test up. Yeah. The next thing, so these 3 things, those 2 things going high or low within 4 hours and eating a high fat or high protein meal before are kind of in your control. You can decide what meal, you can track it in MyFitnessPal, you can decide what meal you're going to have before you basal test. I've just told you the macros there, so there should be no issues doing that. And then going high or low within 4 hours of starting a test, this means that the ratio for your last meal must be off. Yeah. So these 2 things are kind of in your control. The next 3 things that I'm going to speak about aren't so much in your control, but you need to be aware of these if you're wanting to run a basal test. The next one is stress. Stress. So if you're super fucking stressed, there is no point in you trying to test your basal rate. There's no point, because with the majority of type 1s, well, I'm going to say this, all type 1s, stress will impact your blood glucose levels in some way, shape, or form. With some, it tends to go high, some it tends to drop you low. If you're super stressed and you decide to run a basal rate test and your levels are all over the fucking place, then you set a basal rate according to you at a stressful time, and then you're not stressed, you're going to have to go in and do the test again. So it's pointless. So the next one is when you're stressed. You don't want to be running a basal rate test when you are highly stressed. And if you're one of these saying, I'm stressed all the fucking time, yes, life is stressful. Being a type 1's stressful, but there's ways that we can manage this stress. Yeah. So stress, if you're super, super stressed, do not run a basal rate test. Get yourself in a calm state, wait a little bit, calm the fuck down, and then run your test. The next one is if you're ill. This should go without saying, but I know a lot of people aren't going to know this. If you're ill, very similar to stress, it's going to impact your blood glucose levels. There is no point in you running a basal rate test when you're ill. There's just no point. There's not much more I can say on that. Absolutely no point. And the next one is for you females that it's not spoken about much is time of the month. Yeah. If it's time of the month, you're on your period or you're around when your cycle is, there is no point in running a basal test because you may get it okay, all right, for around then. But when you come off, hormones settle down, things start to subside a little bit. That basal rate that you've worked so hard at getting sorted is probably going to be wrong. So it's pointless. Same with stress. Yeah. So I'm going to recap. These are the common things that are going to stop you from basal rate testing. 2 are in your control. The rest aren't really. First one, going high or low within 4 hours of starting the test. Yeah. This is kind of dependent on the ratios of your last meal, which moves into the second one, eating a high fat or high protein meal as your last meal before the test. Do not do that. I've told you the macros you want to stick to. Yeah. And we'll go on further from that. I like a chicken wrap, chicken salad wrap. Dead simple. Dead easy for me to bolus for. I know it's not going to cause a delayed spike. I always use that for my tests. Something I say to clients as well. And the last 3 things kind of out of your control is if you're stressed, wouldn't bother. If you're ill, I wouldn't bother. And for you females, if it's time of the month, I wouldn't bother. Look, the way that I see it is this. You may be really urging to get a basal rate test done, but if you're doing it throughout any of these things that I spoke about, you're kind of wasting your time and you're just going to have to go and do it again. You've got time to do this. It's not like a rush thing. And this is what I say to all my clients, because this is probably causes one of the biggest frustrations with clients on my program. Yeah. I'll be totally honest with you. And like I keep saying, if you're my client, you'll be like, yep, I know, I've fucking been there. Because you might get everything set up. You've got your macros right in your last meal. Everything seems all right. And then something happens and you go high or low within your 4 hours. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to fucking cancel the test. But you will get at a point where you're in range. It's all cool, and you can run your test. Yeah. So a big thing that this comes down to is patience. This is one thing that so many type 1 seem to struggle with. Have a bit of patience because you've got to think diabetes is a long game. It's a marathon. It's not a fucking sprint. It's not like we need to get it right and then next week, do you know what I mean? Something changes. Like it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Yeah. So take your time, get yourself right. If you're super stressed or ill, it's time to like get yourself in a decent position and then run your basal rate test. Yeah. Team, that is it. If you got value from this episode, please leave me a rating and a review on the podcast app and Spotify, because it really does help me reach more type 1 diabetics and positively impact our community. Thank you very, very much for listening. Have the fucking best day ever. Catch you in the next episode. Peace. Right, see a few questions coming in. So I'm going to go through, guys, on Facebook. Are you seeing these messages? Yes, I am. Caroline, I sure am. We've got tagging there. Thank you very much, Claire, for tagging. Cool. Right, I'm going to have a quick look through you guys on Instagram, see what's going on. We've got a few emojis. Thank you. Cool. So best to wait till my monitor has the arrow pointing sideways before starting the test. Not necessarily sideways. You just want to be in range. Yeah. You don't judge anything. It's your number, not really the arrow. Because what could happen is let's say you're in range and you see an arrow down, and then the next 5, 10, or 15 minutes, you decide not to do the test, but then your arrow's straight. Don't go off arrows. Go just at being in range on that. Carol, curious, what do you eat pre-basal test? I'm struggling figuring that out. Just mentioned then, so go back and watch this when it's uploaded, but I like a chicken wrap. Don't smash a load of mayonnaise on your fucking wrap, guys, like, because that's just a load of fat, isn't it? You can use lighter than light mayonnaise. There's fuck all in that. I like a chicken salad wrap. Dead simple. Cool. Right, I think that's it. Right, gang, I'm going to jump off because Steve's in his crate and I've just got him home. Well, not just got him home. It's been on a few hours. I've got him fucking speak. A few hours. Don't want to leave him there for too long. But I appreciate you all taking the time out of your day to watch this episode. Hopefully got you some value from it. Hopefully you can have a bit more awareness around when you start basal testing. Until the next live, have a fucking great day. Peace.